This is a countdown video. It contains my own personal opinion on the subject matter. If you don't like my opinion, well, go make your own video for all I care. Number 5. Xiaolin Showdown. Now this is a show that is 100% campy, but I still love it to death to this day. Now while the character designs are obviously American, the show used a lot of Asian influenced themes and liked to use a lot of visual gags that are commonly found in anime. Aside from some enjoyable and memorable protagonists, the villain's rogue that this show had was just spectacular. I mean, guys, who the f doesn't remember Jack Spicer?
Easy, I can fix this. Hey, give me a week tops. Okay, I'll need more than a week.
My favorite part of the show was the voice cast. To name a few, Xiaolin Showdown featured the talents of Tara Strong, Gray DeLaslie, Tom Kenny, Jeff Bennett, and Jason Marsden as Chase Young.
You should count your good fortune while it lasts. Could you keep it down? I think I'll get some sleep.
Though those who watch the show know how campy and plot-hole filled it is, we loved it so much as kids that we played pretend Xiaolin Showdown duels in our backyards.
Xiaolin Showdown.
Number 4. Alright, take a look at this opening dialogue and tell me that it doesn't sound like the plot to an anime.
While exploring the outskirts of the city, I discovered an abandoned super robot. It was then my life was transformed by the mysterious power primate. The robot monkeys were awakened, and I, Shiro, made their leader. Our quest, save Shigazoom City from the evils of the Skeleton King.
Kinda sounds like one, doesn't it? Well, that's because it's Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go. This show had an old school Super Sentai flavor to it, not to mention that there's a giant robot that can split up into 6 parts. Kinda reminds you of Power Rangers, doesn't it? Like Xiaolin Showdown, this show also used a lot of visual gags that anime is known for. Also, this show featured a spectacular voice cast, including the talents of Mark Hamill as the Skeleton King.
There are forces in the universe beyond your imagination, Shiro. We are but pawns in a universal game of good versus evil.
Looking back on the show, I slowly remembered that it had a lot of dark moments in it. I mean, one of the main characters actually dies halfway through the show and goes through a Gandalf moment like in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Add some memorable side characters into the mix and you've got a unique show with a very, very long name. Number 3. Teen Titans. Kinda weird that a show based on a DC comic would have anime-inspired aspects to it, but in the end, that's just what made it more unique than the rest. As previously mentioned, the Japanese singing duo, Puffy Amiyumi, provided the opening theme for the show. The style of the show in terms of what it was influenced by are some bizarre, expressionist anime like Fooly Cooly. This led to the show having anime quirks like sweat drops and chibi forms, to name a few. Hell, the team actually goes to Tokyo in the movie. The show itself was memorable as well, with some great heroes and villains. It led to memorable episodic arcs that each season had to offer. Not to mention the villain Slade easily goes into everyone's list of greatest villains in kid shows.
If you join me, if you swear to serve me, if you never speak to your friends again, I will allow them to live. But if you disobey even the smallest request, I will annihilate them, Robin, and I'll make you watch.
This show, along with the number 1 on this list, is one of those shows from my childhood that I've seen multiple times, and each time I watch it, it just gets better and better. Teen Titans is unlike any of the other DC animated shows that come before it. Its memorable cast to enjoyable story arcs made it a show that every single child back then watched with happiness. Number 2. Steven Universe. This show is very recent, but every single time I watch it, I feel like I'm watching an anime from the 90s. The creator of the show, Rebecca Sugar, has gone on to say that different anime shows like Future Boy Conan, Revolutionary Girl Utena, and Sailor Moon were her main influence while creating the show. In almost every single episode, there's a homage to 90s anime, such as Sailor Moon, Neon Genesis Evangelion, and Cowboy Bebop, just to name a few. The show is also very extraordinary about what it shows to kids. The show has a very diverse voice cast, more female leads are in the cast, and they actually show different couples of the same gender. They never state it out loud, but any kid that knows about this stuff can easily pick up on it. Also, the concept of fusion, I think it's a very amazing concept. The fact that two gems can fuse to create a whole other person is a concept that can be very intriguing to study.
Go ahead and try hit me if you're able. Can't you see that my relationship is stable? I know you think I'm not something you're afraid of, cause you think that you see what I'm made of, but I am even more than the two of them. Everything they care about is what I am. I am their fury, I am their patience, I am the conversation.
It's Steven Universe. Most of you are currently watching the show already, so I guess there's nothing else to say.
Amethyst and Pearl and Steven!
Number 1.
Earth, fire, air.
Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. A very obvious number 1 spot, isn't it? But can you really blame me? Avatar was the show back in the day, and years later, The Legend of Korra was the show again. The Avatar franchise gets a lot of credit for its more cinematic narrative and its anime animation and art style. It's really hard to talk about how amazing these two shows are in such a short amount of time. The characters are memorable, some of the villains are extremely complex, the settings are very beautiful, and almost every single episode could win an award by how well written it is. The show is just so brilliant. All the kids were talking about the current episode the next day, talking about their favorite characters and moments. And the same thing is happening with the recently aired Legend of Korra. While not as good as the original Avatar, the show still gave us some good heroes and villains, and great storylines as each season was its own individual arc. Ask anyone and they will tell you that these two anime-inspired shows were the best American animated shows that they've ever seen. If you haven't seen the original or the new one, rent or buy the DVDs and enjoy the greatest animated moments that you'll ever wish for.
But I believe Aang can save the world.